Okay, so all of the stuff about Globus that we're about to go over is in this section here called Globus Materials. So overview is in the PowerPoint. And I don't know what I did, but things are terribly slow right now. Okay. So, this is it's an online simulation, like I said, where you're competing with people, all the other teams in the class, and it's set up to be a digital camera. Like you're running a global digital camera company. When the game was originally made, digital cameras were a separate product market. Really, you should just imagine that you're running global cell phone companies, because pretty much 90% of normal people's phone functions as their camera these days too. You're going to be in a global marketplace. You'll see as we go forward that there's four different there's four different markets in the world: North America, Latin America, Europe, Pacific, and Europe, Africa, and Asia Pacific. And that's where you sell the phones. Now your production is actually in Taiwan, which, as you'll notice as the game goes on, makes a big difference in exchange rates, because your costs for manufacturing are in Taiwanese dollars. Your revenues in Europe are in euros. Your revenues in Latin America are in Brazilian reais. Your revenues in Asia Pacific are in yuan. And your revenues in North America are in North American dollars, not Taiwanese dollars. So depending on how inflation is in the different markets, you may have to make different prices in different markets. So you've also got two different types of camera. You've got basically an entry level and a high-end multi-featured camera. So each of those four geographic markets has two product markets, so you actually got 8 total markets. You're going to make a whole bunch of decisions. This whole game is about, I'll go in and show you this visually. You'll be able to get a better idea of what you're going to be doing. The whole game is about going in and deciding all of the different features of different points of decision. So your camera design and performance, you're going to decide what's the quality of the megapixel resolution. How robust of a set of menu options are you going to have? How much zoom are you going to have on the camera? How many different how many different special features are you going to have? What's the price going to be? So if we move on to pricing and marketing, about production operations, you've got to decide, you've got to manage the warehouse, basically. It's a separate decision. Deciding what the production levels are going to be in the warehouse is different than just choosing what type of camera you're going to make. And it's also different than choosing the price of the camera, choosing how much advertising you're going to do, choosing how many discount promotions and so forth you're going to do, choosing what warranty you're going to offer, choosing how much customer service you're going to offer. All of those impact how much demand there is for your camera. But just because there's demand for your camera doesn't mean you told the warehouse to actually produce that many. So you got to also manage the warehouse. You also need to manage how much you're paying your workers, what's the mix between fixed salary, performance bonus, and fringe benefits, how much you're going to pay to train the workers, whether you're going to offer a cafeteria and childcare and so forth for the workers, whether you're going to have green initiatives in the plant, how much you're going to spend on research and development, which impacts both the quality of the camera and the efficiency of your operations. And you're going to make a bunch of decisions about financing. So how much debt are you going to use? How much equity are you going to offer? What dividends are you going to offer connected with your stock? And the flip side of how much equity you're going to offer, how much equity are you going to buy back? And we'll get into the importance of how many shares of stock you have outstanding. But you're going to be making all of those decisions as a group once a week. And all of that together combines to have different teams perform better and worse in the game. So I mentioned a lot of the things already that you're going to be making decisions about, so we'll go past that. The important thing to remember is that everything about this game is relative to what the other teams are doing. There is no specific right or wrong answer. There's only a right or wrong answer in comparison to what your direct competitors are doing. So you're gonna see that the game ends up stratifying into really low end cameras, sort of mid-range cameras, and high end of the low end. And then you'll see the same thing with the multi-featured. You'll have the cheaper, expensive cameras, the mid-range, and the higher expensive cameras. And what really matters is, what are you doing with your pricing, your promotions, your subtle changes in the features of the camera compared to the other team, which is also, the middle range, low end camera. It doesn't matter what the other groups are doing that are the high end low range camera or the low end high range camera. What matters is what are you doing compared to your direct competitors? And if they're doing level 6 here, for example, and you're doing level 4, and level 6 is getting more demand versus 4 saving costs, then you're going to need to move up. But there's nothing inherently correct about 6 or 4. It all depends on a lot of complex factors. So the thing to remember here is, to do well in the game, you need to pay attention to what your direct rivals are doing. So yes.
So you're able to see what your rivals are doing.
Yep. You'll have you'll have more data than you want, of reports on what the other teams are doing each week. So yeah, that's pretty much a summary of what I just said again. How the game is rated. So there's actually 5 different things that you're scored on. First of all is your earnings per share. Investors want to see you grow it by 8% each year, and then after year 10 of the game, and actually the game starts in year 6. So each week is a simulated year in the game. So you actually start in year 6 because the idea of the game is you're taking over as new management from an existing company, and at the beginning of the game, all of the companies are exactly equal in their performance. So you're not taking over a company that is somehow behind already. So from starting, you need to grow your earnings per share. And your investors have an expectation for what they want to see there. They want to see you grow your return on equity by 15% or more. They want to see you maintain a B+ credit rating or higher. They want to see you grow the stock price the same way you're growing earnings per share, 8% a year and then 4% after year 10. And they want you to have an image rating, which is basically a combination of the quality of your camera and the way that your company is perceived in treating its workers and being good to the environment and so forth. They want you to have an image rating of 70 or higher, and 100 is the highest possible. So those are the 5 ratings, and there's actually 2 different ways that it's scored. One is just simply, did you hit what the investors expected? If you hit what the investors expected, you get 100% in each of those areas. So If you hit what all the, if you hit or exceed what the investor, if you hit what the investors expected each week, you get 100% for that. But then there's also, if I can use the, who in the world would put a yellow marker here? Can you see that? Oh, let me get one out of here. Okay, can you see that a little bit? Yeah. So, if you have, like, let's say that this is the level that the investors expect. Okay, but let's say all of the groups. If we have A, B, C, D, E, F, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. We got 9 groups right now. So let's say that, let's say I'm just going to draw lines instead of bars, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? Let's say that's how your actual performance is. So this team and this team get, maybe 115 and 110, for these teams down here are going to get like a 50, and this is 90, But if you average all of the actual performance, the average is, probably about there. So you're also judged whether you're above or below the average of all the actual performance. So not only did you meet the investors' expectations, but how well did you perform compared to the other teams? Make sense? Each of those is weighted 50%. Okay? There used to be a quiz. I took it out. Anybody upset about that? Okay, I didn't think so. There used to be a strategic plan. I took it out. Anybody upset about that? Good. Peer evaluations. There is still a peer evaluation. So at the very end of the game, you'll have a chance to go in and evaluate your peers. The way that I'm giving you 2 separate peer evaluation forms. So there's one for the case work together, and there's one for your work on the game together. If you get rated low on your game rating, I'll subtract some points if your peers say that you didn't contribute well enough. It's not the same multiplying as a percentage like I'm doing with the case paper, but I will. If you get really low marks from your peers on the peer evaluation at the end of the semester, I will take off some points, but not the same percentage formula. Make sense? Okay. How do you register? Here you go. This is the information. I'm also going to email it to you. Basically, you'll get an email from me with a registration code in it. You're going to go to www.globus.com. You're going to click on a button in the upper left-hand corner, I believe, is where it is, called Student Registration. And then you're just going to follow the instructions, basically. It'll ask you for your registration code. It'll ask you for a credit card number. I'm sorry, but there's no way I can get around doing this class without having each of you pay $44.95 for the game. You're welcome to share the books and, take down the textbook costs there, but everybody's got to sign up for this for $44.95. So that's what you got to do. As soon as you register, you need to get together as a team. You can do it, on the phone as a conference call. You can actually do it through the game. I'll show you in a second. There's actually chat and audio. So if everybody's logged in and have your microphone and speaker turned on your computer, you could actually be at home, all 5 or 4 or 3 members of the group, and just coordinate on the screen at the same time. Or you can all meet up together, whatever you prefer. So let me, I'll explain this later. I'll explain that later, and I'll explain that later. Okay, so the rest of this, I'm actually going to walk you through the actual website. It'll make a lot more sense when I do that. Before I do that, before I forget, let me show you what else is here. So I just showed you the PowerPoint. There's also three different like sets of examples of what prior student groups did in their decisions. Okay, so this year 9 insider information, this is actually, I'll probably do the same thing for this class. After the first couple years of the game, I will like print out the information to show. I mean, honestly, the better performing teams will be upset that I did that, and the lower performing teams will be happy that I did. It's like a one-time peek into insider information. So this is actually how the performance was after the first 3 rounds of the game last winter for my students. And if you open up this document, it's a PDF, it'll show you. Here, bear with me for a second here. It'll show you every single decision input for every single one of the teams. So you'll see Team A, for example, here had 10.5 image resolution, 2.5 by 3.5 LCD. These numbers here are every number that you have to input as a group each week. And you'll see that not everybody chose the same numbers. And you'll also see, if you scroll down to the bottom, not everyone had the same performance. So this is giving you an idea of what your peers did a little less than a year ago in the same game. So kind of gives you a starting point to figure out what numbers to choose. You also, oh wait, that's not what I wanted to do. Cancel, close this, go back here. Practice round decisions from 2016. So this is exactly what things, like this is exactly how things looked like next Monday for last winter's class as well. So the same groups that are in this year 9 information, the practice round, which came before that, so that was 4 weeks before the year 9, these were all the decisions that all the groups made. And you'll see here at the bottom, the performance of the teams was different, depending on what they chose compared to their competitors for each of the inputs. So you've got another sheet full of target numbers you can use to figure out where to start here. And then you got a third one. This is actually the final results from my students back in Cincinnati from a couple of years ago. So you can see here which team won the game. So Team A basically was first. Team F, the names of the companies like have to start with the letter of the group that you are. So in the actual printouts down here, you'll see it's just called Group A, B, C, D, E, F. You'll see A, F, B, C, E, D is actually how the rankings went, and G and H were not. There weren't enough students to have groups G and H, so they're sitting there, but there actually were no groups named G and H. So you can see what Group A, which was the first place team, what they chose for each of their inputs in the final year of the game, and Group D, which was last, you can also see what they did. So this gives you a third view of like what numbers work, which numbers don't. But remember, these are relative to the comparison with the competitors then. If you do the same numbers now, it's not going to make the same result because it depends on what everybody else in here does. Make sense? But at least this gives you a starting point to work from. Finally, there's some tips here from my final capstone students. This is actually some tips from one of the best teams from Cincinnati that I brought here. I brought the tips with me so that you guys can benefit from them. So it's just a Word document with, I think, 1 page of bullet points, but good suggestions from one of the teams that did well in my class in the past. So I encourage all of the teams to read this little 1-page document for tips on how to do well. Dum-da-dum-da-dum, once it finally opens. Yeah, so I guess it's 2 pages. Invest heavily in R&D. With your R&D, you can lower the costs to make the camera, so you can start lowering your price. But you'll see all of the different tips in here. They're really good suggestions. And then finally, it's going to be too confusing for you today, but there's bonus points that are awarded in the game based on how close you come to your predicted numbers. Don't worry about that for the practice round, but after we go through a couple of weeks and you start noticing that some teams are getting bonus points and other ones aren't, you'll want to know why. And the document here explains how they're calculated, okay? We'll get back to talking about that in a couple of weeks from now, but I wanted to let you know that it's here. So let me open up the actual website and we'll walk through that and then we'll call it a day. Anybody have questions about what I've said before I actually open up the site and kind of walk you through things? Okay. Okay, so the place where I said you're going to click on new students, when you guys go, you're going to click right here in the upper left-hand corner to register, okay? I'm going to go ahead and log in as myself. Okay, this is you guys here, but no one's been able to register yet, so it's I'm going to go back to the last group so I can show you all the inputs and stuff, or the last group, the last like class that did this. So if I go into company A, actually let me do this one step better. Why does that not work? I want you to see what the screen looks like from the student perspective. It's almost the same, but it looks a little different for me. That's really interesting. Do I have to log in as myself again? It used to just take me straight there. Huh. Okay. Anyway, I'll just go to it from my screen. So you'll see on the left-hand side here a bunch of like yellow folders. The place where you go to actually enter your various entries each week is right here under decision entries. And if you just click there, you'll notice there's different pages: product design, marketing, assembly, compensation and labor, corporate citizenship, finance, and cash flow. Okay, so you should first of all, you should make these decisions starting at the top and going to the bottom, because what you do with your product design has cascading implications for the demand for your products, which means it's gonna raise the cost, which means you're gonna have to make a higher price, which means you might have to advertise less or more, because you tend to advertise more. It's like a bell curve. Like if you are in the middle of the pack, you need to advertise more. If you're the cheapest, lowest end camera, you don't have to advertise as much, because people want to buy you because you're cheap. And if you're the highest end one, people want to buy you because you're the best in the market. You don't have to advertise as much. But everything is impacted by the quality of the camera. And then everything in your assembly is impacted by how much demand there is for the cameras, which is impacted by your advertising and your pricing and stuff like that. And then how much you're going to have to pay, how many workers you're going to have to hire, depends on how much assembly you have to do. And then what you're going to do at the end with how much cash you have available to either pay down debt or buy back shares, or whether you need to issue more shares, and how much dividend you can offer. You don't know that until you've made all the rest of the decisions. So start at the top, work your way down. And it's going to be tedious, but whenever you change something, you need to go back, change it from the top, and then deal with the cascading implications of any change you made. So if I click on product design first, you'll see here that I think this is group B, but anyway, it doesn't matter which group it is. Right here is where you decide. So it's pretty simple from an actual what to do standpoint. You just click these buttons and choose which number you're going to do. So they're at a 12 on image resolution. Each of these you can toggle and change. So you'll notice here on the left-hand side, projections. These are basically, the game simulates as if you had a whole corporate finance department working in the company, and you can get projections for them. If I change the image of the camera, how's that going to impact my costs, and how's that going to impact demand for the camera? And you can get projections. So these projections are right here. Now the projections aren't always right. They're actually almost never right, because they're based on what all of the rest of the groups did the prior year. So as soon as everybody else changes their inputs, then the prediction is no longer valid. Okay? But you'll notice here, if I change my image resolution from 12 up to 24, see how that tanked? My earnings per share went down from $1.30 to 95 cents. Here, I'll change it back again. See that? So right here on the left-hand side, the projected earnings per share is $1.30, which is still well below the investor expectations. This group's not doing too well. But if we cranked that up to 24, they're going to be doing even worse. And every time you make a change, you'll see how it impacts the projections here. What was this before? 2 by 3.5? I can't remember. No. Where was it? There it is. So anyway, anytime you change any of this stuff, it changes the rest of the projections. This is where you input your R&D. This is the last year of the game, so a little trick that a lot of students learn by the end of the game is that research and development has an impact on the future. So it doesn't have an impact in the next year of the game. It has an impact 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. So the last round of the game, you're just wasting money by spending it on R&D because you're not going to have another round of the game. So this number should never be 0 unless it's the last round of the game. In short, changing your investment in R&D is a really bad idea. It's going to make your cameras lower quality. It's going to make your production less efficient, and you're going to get more and more uncompetitive with the other teams if you don't invest enough in R&D. But at the end of the game, you can save money on it. You'll notice here there's a star rating. That's really where you want to look in who your direct competitors are. And you'll see as we go forward, if we change enough of these numbers, so this is 2.5 stars right now. If I move this up to 24, look, I got a 3-star camera. If I move this up to 11, move all these up really high. Oh, look, now I'm 3.5 stars. The more expensive, the higher quality the camera, the bigger the number of stars. And vice versa, the lower the cost, the lower the quality of the camera, the lower the number of stars. So I think this was originally 2.5, so this company was competing with a 2.5-star camera, so in entry level, and a 1-star camera in multi-featured, so for the high end. And that means that they want to look at who are the other teams that also have a 2.5-star camera. So when you're thinking about what prices to set, what promotions to offer, what warranties to offer, how much advertising to spend, you want to look at what the teams are doing that also have 2.5-star cameras. And then for the multi-featured, you want to look at what are the other teams doing that have a 1-star camera. You'll also want to pay attention to who's above and below you, because you're not going to sell well at all if you're offering a 2.5-star quality camera at a price that's higher than somebody that's selling a 3-star camera. So your most important competitors are those ones that are also offering 2.5 stars, or if you're a 3-star camera, then it's the other companies that are offering 3-star. If you're a 1-star camera, it's the other companies offering 1. But you also want to be cognizant of what's the next level up, because if you price above that, then you're starting to lose business to the next highest level. So if you notice, if I change, leave these here for a second, and then I go to marketing. Here's your marketing decisions, and you can't really see here the impact of the product design changes, but product design changes will impact how much demand there is for your products. So depending on what you did there, if you raise the quality here, that means it's like you can see down here at the bottom, it costs $121.93 to make this entry-level camera. So in your marketing, 141, that's only $20 above break even. That price is now probably too low because you raised the component costs of the camera. So then you're going to need to go in here and make this more like 168, and you'll notice again, as soon as I do that every time I make a change, this is changing here, the projections. And again, that'll also, you'll see, have an effect on the assembly. So here you've got a number for the number of orders that are demanded from retailers based on the kind of camera you're offering and the advertising and the promotions. You'll see here, it's 22 right now in North America for the first quarter. Now, if I go back and I go from this 168 price to 140 again, like it was, see that went from 22 to 42? The price went down, so now all those retailers want they want a lot more of the camera. And you can't ship any more cameras than are demanded by your retailers. So that's why you need to do the first two screens first, because by the time you get to the third screen, you need to tell Globus. The easy thing is you can just click this button that says Match Assembly to Orders, and that will basically that will put the that will put the production goal for your production facility at whatever the maximum demand from retailers is. Actually, you're allowed to go 10% above that, but no more than 10%. So if you really want to max out your revenues, you have to go in by hand and type in 10% above. So 10% above 42 is probably 46. Yep, it let me do it. But you see, if I type in 47, oh, it still let me. 48. Yeah, you see, it tells me I can't go above 47. So you could actually increase revenues even more by going in and putting those up 10% by hand. But it's all impacted by the first two screens. This is the same thing for your multi-feature camera. So you've got one screen for the yes?
Like if we're working all in a group, can we make changes simultaneously to it? Like we're all logged in, or?
Yes, this is the thing. You can make changes simultaneously, but you have to be, you see here in the lower left-hand corner where it says collaboration mode?
Oh, okay.
You need to be in collaboration mode. If everybody is not in collaboration mode, then like one person will save over the next person's work. But if you're in collaboration mode, then you can be in remote locations and it'll update correctly. Make sense? Other questions before I keep going? Okay, so you've got one screen where you tell the facility, like let's just say you've got two separate sides of your production facility, one side for the entry-level low-end cameras and one side for the high-end cameras, and you have to tell the production targets to each side of the assembly. So that's what you do in these two screens. Then compensation and labor, you'll notice here you choose how much you're going to increase or decrease workers' wages, whether you're going to offer them bonuses for either attendance and or basically good quality cameras. You're going to choose how much fringe benefits you offer. You're going to choose the training and development that you give them. Again, the end of the game, it's really low because you get training and development also impacts the future, not the present. But you'll notice here, this group is 22% under the average. One of the reasons this team isn't doing better is because they're paying their workers like Walmart. Like they're 22% under the average wage in the industry. That's what it says here on the right-hand side. So if they were to increase their, if you look down here on number of PATs, that stands for production assembly team, but basically just assume it means number of workers. You'll see here, based on all the rest of the assembly decisions, they need 171 workers. They've only got 157. So they're going to need to hire 14 more. But if I pay the workers better, I only need 166 because everybody works more efficiently because they're happier because they're getting paid better. And if I increase their benefits as well, oh look, now I only need 155. And I'm only 2% below the market. So the more you pay your workers, the less workers you need. But there's diminishing returns. At a certain point, you're wasting money spending too much on the workers. But if you spend too little, then they're not working as efficiently as they could. Make sense? Once you know how many you have to hire or fire, this is where you put it here. Notice, if I go back to 0 here, notice that we basically got a little more. We got a little more than we need in quarter 1 and quarter 2, but we got way less than we need in quarter 3. Quarter 3 is when you make all of the orders for Christmas and the holiday season. So quarter 3 is always much higher production than quarter 1, 2, or 4. So you always have to hire additional temps basically here, but there's no way in the game to actually hire a temp as opposed to a regular worker. The way that you hire a temp is you put a positive number here, and then the very next quarter you put a negative number. Okay? If you don't lay them off in the next quarter, they become full-time employees, and you have to pay them severance when you have to fire them, which is half their salary. So be careful not to keep your temps around after the third quarter, because otherwise, by the time you get rid of them, you're going to end up paying a lot of extra money to get rid of them. Okay? Finally, 2 more screens to go, and then we'll call it a day. Corporate citizenship. This basically impacts more than anything your image rating. It does a little bit for the efficiency of your workers as well. But you'll notice here you can contribute a certain amount of your like earnings to charity. This is 0 right now, but if I move it up to 5,000, didn't make any difference. 10,000, look, my image rating moved up 1 rank from 56 to 57. But like that's really not doing me much good because I went from 3-cent profit to 96-cent loss. So that's not good. You can have green initiatives. You can have energy efficient programs. All of these things, basically, the higher up you move these, the more cost it costs you, but the better impact it makes on your image rating. Okay? And then finally, for finance and cash flow, you'll notice this this team's in bad shape. They're in a credit watch, but they've got a whole bunch of cash on hand. This tells you how much cash you have. So their credit rating is going to be better if they pay off their debt. So you can see, you got 68,000 or 68 million actually worth of money you can pay off. 62 is the most I can pay. Oh, because I could actually pay these entire loans off. 135. See that? Now my credit rating went from junk bond to just B status because I paid off the loans. Shocker. But you'll notice now I have no cash left. So if I want to offer more dividends, then I actually need to issue some shares. This tells you how many you can issue, how many you can buy back. So if I issue another 1,000 shares, see how I got a bunch of cash here now and my credit rating went up? Problem with issuing shares is earnings per share and earnings per share, return on equity, and share price are all impacted by the number of shares outstanding. So the more shares you have out there, the lower your earnings per share is, because it's a simple equation. Earnings, this is earnings here, and this is number of shares here. What happens if you make the denominator higher in a fraction and you keep the numerator the same?
Negative number.
It gets smaller, yes. So it's great to get the cash, but it hurts your other performance measures. So you got to balance how many shares you're going to offer. If you want to buy shares back, then that goes here. So buying shares back makes a little bit of a positive impact on your. See here? Well, actually, yeah. Actually, it didn't help in this case, but normally because of other problems the company has. But normally, if you buy shares back, it improves your earning per share, return on equity, and stock price numbers. That's pretty much what you need to do. When you're done, you just click on Save Decision Entries. I'm just going to close this here, and I want to show you one more thing. If I go to your market rather than the one that's closed, there's nobody. There's nobody registered right now. I can't log in as if I were you because nobody's registered for the game yet. You'll have a little button. I think it's in blue. I think your screen will look a little bit different, and I think you're going to have a button like in blue here that says Decision Entries, but it'll be relatively obvious where to go. That's where you click, and then it'll open up that same screen that I was just showing you guys. And you'll see in your menu at the top, you'll have user manual. You'll have a place to go for the quizzes, but there's no quizzes, so you don't have to worry about that. There'll be a help function. It'll explain everything in the website, but I think for you to go in and make the decisions, there's a button that's like right here, but I can't remember clearly. That's it for today. Any questions about it? Okay, I will email each of the groups with your registration information, and if you're going to be in separate places, make sure you go into collaboration mode so you don't save over each other's entries. And otherwise, if you want to meet face-to-face, just find a time to meet as a group sometime between now and the end of the weekend and make sure those entries get in. Okay, bye everybody. Yeah.
So should I email Jake Thomas personally?
Well, you just respond to that one where I put him in touch with you. Like, there's two different things. The thing I mentioned today, actually, it's just a seminar.
Yeah,
like working with Jay is something different. That's just for you. And I would just recommend that you respond to the email.
To that email.
Yeah, just respond to the one that I CC'd you on, and say, hey Jay, I'm really excited to meet you. Like whatever works for you. This is my cell phone number. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
And if you don't hear from him by next Monday, let me know, and I'll give you a cell phone number.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Believe me, he'll appreciate it too. He always needs new mentees, or he doesn't continue to make money. You're going to help him make money. It's fine.
Okay, well that means it's a win-win for both of us,
it
right?
is. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm hungry and I'm ready to get out there.
I know. It's going to be good, man. It's going to be good. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Awesome. How are you doing?
Hey.
Actually, I don't have it.
Huh?
I don't have it.
Oh, when did you come in?
I came like 11 minutes less.
Okay, so you weren't here when I assigned the groups. I'm going to put, what's your name? So you have to send me your professional development plan still. What are you interested in doing with your career after college? Okay, let me put you with this group. Yeah, tonight. I'll send it. I was gonna send it. I get done teaching the last class, and then I gotta go like visit my elderly. So I was planning on sending it around 10 or 11. If you guys want to meet before that, I can try to figure out how to start this thing. I'll try and do it sooner. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I know you were saying that we have to make up like those decisions over the weekend. Is it possible to do it like Monday as long as it's before the next class session?
Oh, okay. The deadline is like 11:59
On Sunday. That's right. Okay. Cool. Perfect. Thank you.
Normally, if it's another assignment, I'm a little flexible, but
Right.
I have to tell the website when the deadline
no,
is.
I remember
the website counts. The website will close it off at
Okay.
11:59.
No, yeah, I remember you had mentioned something like that, but it completely like
Yeah.
All right.
It's
Cool.
11:59 on Sunday.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, so
Yeah.
just